Hi, I'm Reverend Jake Sabe, and welcome to Children's Bible Stories. Alright, children, our Bible story for today is going to be the resurrection appearance of Jesus to all the apostles, and this will actually be the last resurrection appearance video that we do. So in St. Paul's first epistle to the Corinthians, he's explaining how important the resurrection is. How important is it, children?
Very. What
does Paul say? He says if the resurrection didn't happen, our hope and our faith is in vain. You know what that means?
No.
It means it's empty and worthless and useless. Paul's saying, look, if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, then being a Christian is just pointless, absolutely useless. Why should we believe any of it? And in that section of 1 Corinthians, Paul then gives a list of important resurrection appearances. He doesn't mention every resurrection appearance, like he doesn't mention any appearances to the women, or to the 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus, or even all the appearance accounts that Jesus did to the main 12 apostles. Instead, Paul mentions the important ones, like Jesus meeting with Peter, Jesus meeting with the 12 or the 11 apostles, Jesus meeting with a large crowd of 500 people, Jesus meeting with Peter, Jesus meeting with James, the brother of Jesus. And then lastly, he mentions that Jesus also appeared to all the apostles. Now, who are all the apostles? Well, St. Paul teaches us in his epistles that in order to have been an apostle, you had to be someone who was sent directly by Jesus. Apostle means sent one. And so in order to be an apostle, you couldn't just be an ordinary Christian or an ordinary pastor. You had to be somebody who was directly ordained by the earthly Jesus himself. This is why Paul, who becomes an apostle, makes a big point of saying, Jesus actually came and appeared before me, Paul, in order to make me an apostle. And so in order to be an apostle, you had to have been appointed by Jesus himself. And apart from Paul, there are only 3 other times in Scripture where we see someone being appointed apostles. Jesus grabs his original 12, who he appoints as apostles, and Jesus appears to James in 1 Corinthians, and Paul refers to James as an apostle, so we can say that that's when Jesus appointed James to be an apostle. But there is another time in the Gospels when Jesus appoints a bunch of people to be apostles. And that's when Jesus appoints the group of 70, or 72. The Greek is somewhat hard. It's either 72 or 70 in groups of 2. So there's either 70 or 72 apostles that Jesus appoints in the Gospel of Luke. And so wherever in Scripture we see other people who aren't part of the 12 who are called apostles, such as Barnabas and Matthias, they are most likely members of the 72. And so what Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians is that at some point Jesus meets up with all the apostles. So this would be the 11 apostles, plus James, the brother of Jesus, plus the 72. And maybe anyone else that Jesus had appointed as an apostle in his lifetime. And so we don't know why Jesus appeared to these apostles, but possibly Jesus appeared to all of them to give them the commission to go forth and to preach his word, as the apostles were the original pastors. Jesus appoints the apostles, and then they went out and appointed pastors in the church. And so this is probably Jesus commissioning all of them, just as Jesus commissions the 12 at the Great Commission to go forth and to preach and teach and to baptize. This is probably an account where Jesus commissioned all the apostles, not just the 12, but all of them, including the 72, to go out and to preach and teach and to baptize. And then that, children, is our Bible story for today. I've been your host, Reverend Jake Zabel. Goodbye, and God bless.